I know my room is a mess. It's because I just got a new Gundam, and so now I'm just building it. Another Farrel Mcguire video for you guys today. It's called Horrors from an FBI Database. We know this is about to be scary because it has the specific lettering on FBI. That's how we know it's gonna be scary. I love this guy's videos. I'll put his channel in the description for the YouTube audience. Oh wait, hold on. I forgot to turn off the lights. All right, lock in, chat.
Plainsview, Arkansas, 1995. A woman named Pamela Lamb is getting ready to go to work. Her husband David is staying home that day, and he tells her he's planning to get some stuff done around the house, namely mowing the lawn. Later that day, as Pamela's returning home,
Say you work in the FBI. Are you allowed to tell your family that you work for the FBI, or do they not know? He might mention that in this video, but like that one guy, John Kirikow, I think is how you say his name. I'm not sure. Kiriakou, maybe. I think from like the stories he said, like his wife didn't know he was an FBI agent. She just knew he had like some strange work that he wasn't allowed to talk about.
she's greeted with an odd sight. A half-mowed lawn, and a still running mower sitting in the middle of it, without anybody present to operate the machine. She gets out of her car and shuts it off. Maybe her husband went to the backyard and he just forgot to turn off the mower. But he's not there. She checks inside the house. His keys and wallet are still on the table, but he's nowhere to be found. The more she looks, the more the realization sets in that her husband had simply vanished, as if he was plucked out of reality in the middle of a...
See, this is what happens. This is what happens when you post too much TikTok Farlands videos and they realize that you're actually right about Saturn being a supercomputer, and then they come for you. This is what happens, bro. This is like what happened to Joshua Block. That's like what happened to Joshua Block.
A menial household chore. She'd then call the police and a missing persons report would be filed. But
that's the guy from the cover of the video. That's the guy from the cover of the video. I'm recognizing. W recognition.
Matter. Because David Lamb would never be seen again. People go missing all the time. In the USA, a staggering 1,600 new missing persons cases are reported every single day. But
we have 1,600 new missing person cases a day? That is crazy. That means probably like at least like 5 people you've ever interacted with have been a missing person. Or not even interacted with, but seen on the street, you know? Maybe you didn't talk to them. Maybe you seen on the street, drove past them in a car. Whatever. That's crazy. That's insane to me. Wow.
Often, there's some sort of clue or indication as to what may have happened in a given case. Maybe it's a teenager who ran away from their parents, or a hitchhiker who got into the wrong car. But
yeah,
this case...
I actually knew a guy.
Pretty. Baby, you wouldn't know how it feel to be me. All the shit I do, I got scars you can see. Fuck rehab, ran the road, good treat. Tolerance fucked up, gotta smile at 2 or 3. I can hear your lies, but your eyes start to me.
At my high school, he was a senior, and he was dating a girl in my grade, and this was, I think, either last year or 2 years ago. I think this was last year. So it was a senior dating a sophomore, and he was 18, so he's legally an adult. She's not, obviously. She's a sophomore. And they wanted to date, but the girl, her parents didn't like him, and they wanted to break them up, and they tried to force it. So instead, they ran away together, and he drove her like 3 states away. But she is a minor legally, and he's legally an adult, so it's technically kidnapping, and he got expelled. So even if the age gap is only like a year, like I think you could still go to prison for that, for like kidnapping.
Not only are there basically no clues left behind to help explain how and why David Lamb disappeared, but the details that are there only make this case harder to explain. A running lawnmower on a half-mowed lawn suggests that he left in a hurry, maybe even in a panic.
That's bizarre. Why is it still running? Speaking of which, this might just be exclusive to my family, but does anyone else have the biggest problems with their lawnmowers just randomly? I feel like there's not a single lawnmower out there that's going to be like last you like upwards of 5 years. I've been through like 4 lawnmowers in my life, and I'm only 16. I remember back when I would mow the lawn like twice a week during prime summer, like when I was 13. I would mow the lawn like twice a week, and it would like randomly stall, or like it would randomly just not work, and then a week later it would work again. I hate lawnmowers, bro. I swear they gotta be making that shit break on purpose, so you have to buy a new one every 2 years. Side note though, I heard you can make really good money on like Facebook Marketplace by like finding lawnmowers and then just like fixing them up and selling them.
But his keys and wallet being left behind would indicate that he wasn't planning to go far. Plainsview is a tiny town in the middle of rural Arkansas. If David had gone anywhere, it'd almost certainly be in a vehicle of some kind. Since there were no reported cars missing in this case, David likely got into someone else's vehicle. Considering that the lawnmower was running and how quick and easy it is to shut a lawnmower off, you could theorize that he was forcibly taken. But for what reason? One clue here that could support this theory is a list of injuries David reportedly had. One of them was a gunshot wound he had sustained earlier that year. Getting shot generally means making somebody upset enough to shoot you. Is it possible whoever shot David was responsible for his disappearance?
Potentially. But when you say getting shot and he's not in like and he's not like he doesn't have the job of someone that gets shot. If you're not in a career where like you're at risk of getting shot or shooting people, then what have you done to make someone mad? And if you've done something to make someone mad enough to shoot you, why would they still be mad at you 6 months down the line? That's a little strange to me. Like when you say that he's made someone mad enough at him to shoot him, you would think it's like some sort of like maybe like a road rage accident. You honk, and it's just some crazy person they get out of the car like, "Hey, what are you honking at me for?" And they shoot you. That or like you're just wrong place, wrong time. I wouldn't really. Maybe you're waiting in line for the new AP Swatch collab, and you just get jumped in the line. I don't know, but it's just strange that someone would hold a grudge for that long over something so little or so menial or so in the moment as he made me mad, so I shot him. You know?
It would be a clean explanation, but there are some details here that don't quite line up. When Pamela came home, she said the lawnmower was still running. This single detail is what makes this case so interesting. It's almost as if this guy was raptured or something. But how was it possible that the lawnmower was running without anybody there to push it?
Not dead ass. It's like he just fucking disappeared, bro. That's actually crazy. That's creepy as hell.
In 1982, after a rising rate of injuries, the American government would mandate that all new lawnmowers sold in the USA would have to have something called a dead man switch installed onto it. If you've ever mowed a lawn before, you definitely know what this is.
Yeah.
For the machine to actually run, you have to be holding down a spring-loaded handle. If you let it go for even a second, the lawnmower shuts off. How is it possible that David's mower was running without him being there to hold it? Maybe it's just so...
Theory! The girl was lying. The girl was lying. She's actually from the FBI. She's a femboy. She's actually a dude dressed as a woman, and she's just been married to this guy for years, and he's like an undercover Russian spy. And she's in the FBI, and it was all just a ploy to kidnap him, and she's lying about it to the police so that they don't get discovered. Bang.
happened to be a very old mower that didn't have this dead man switch installed, but how likely is it for...
Guess I'm wrong! Whoa, whoa. Okay, the rest of the story can still be true. It's just that one little detail I'm incorrect about. Alright.
a 30-year-old man to be using a 14-year-old lawnmower? It's hard to speculate with how limited the details are here, but you could possibly surmise some potential conflict between David and his spouse. One documented detail is that David had a tattoo that read Connie, a different name than his wife Pamela. Again, there's nothing concrete to suggest that there was any real long-term conflict between this couple. This tattoo could...
He has a heart condition and wears a pacemaker. Blue jeans, blue shirt, work shoes, camouflage hat. Fingerprints and DNA available. Okay. He's 5'9". So I don't think some girl would be tripping over him because he's 5'9". So
could have just been for an ex-girlfriend that he knew long before he met his wife. But I will say that it's a little strange Pamela has been so under the radar about her own husband's disappearance. I couldn't find a single instance of this case even being in the newspaper. If my spouse vanished one day, I'd be shouting from the rooftops to keep the case in the public eye. But this mystery hasn't received any of that sort of advocacy. In my mind, there are three possible explanations here. The first is that David had a medical episode of some kind and just wandered off in a daze. I don't think this is very likely, as Plainsview is a very small town, and it wouldn't be very hard to find him in such a tiny place.
And also, like, he's not going to make it very far, you know? He's not going to make it very... If he's just in a daze, he walks off, they're going to find him. I mean, they're going to find him. Some 30-year-old guy, he's not going to get very far, dude. If I'm dating someone and they have a heart condition, I'm going to want to have their location, you know? What if they randomly get in a car crash and I just don't know? And they just die? Or they have a heart attack in some random spot and they just die. There's no one there. That would stress me out. So I feel like I would keep tabs on, you know?
The second is that somebody had a grudge against David, and they forcibly took him while he was outside his house and did God knows what to him. This is possible, but it would be hinging on the fact that David owned an antique lawnmower that could keep running without an operator present. Which brings us to the third theory, one that says Pamela had something to do with her husband's disappearance, and she merely lied about the lawnmower running. This feels like the most plausible explanation to me. In most cases where a spouse is found to be murdered after going missing, their partner is usually the perpetrator. There could be a multitude of methods she could have taken to pull off this crime, whereas somebody kidnapping David while he was mowing his lawn is a theory that relies on much narrower possibilities.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, we can't say for sure what happened to David Lamb. The information here is sparse, and we can only speculate. While his is notable for his bizarre details, David's case is not unique. Out of the 600,000 people that go missing every year in the United States, a sizable portion of these cases end up going cold because there's simply no plausible theory that can explain why these people just vanished into thin air. In many of these cases, including David's, it almost feels like these people just stopped existing in this plane of reality. Like they despawned. One moment there.
Chad, do we think that there's another plane of existence? This is a great question. I think that that's very realistic. Dude, after death, no one even knows where you go. You could go to a whole entire another plane of reality where you're spectating everything around you, but in a different form, and you can't actually even tell that you're alive. But you're making conscious decisions. Like, that would be insane. It's kind of like when you take anesthesia and you fall asleep and then you just wake up again and it's 8 hours have passed. How does that even happen, bro? How do you fall into such a deep sleep that time just passes so fast? That's the kind of thing that makes me believe that there is actually like another plane of existence.
The next not. Last year, I did a video about VICAP, the FBI's Violent Crime Apprehension Program. You can consider this a sort of sequel. Many of the cases we're going to talk about today are actually attached to VICAP, but to the missing persons section, not the unidentified remains section. Every case we're going to cover today is cold, often having gone years without any sort of update or potential resolution. And just before we get to the next story, I want to let you guys know that I've uploaded my whole catalog to Spotify, because they actually...
Ooh, I love that. Great guy. Great guy. I will be listening. You better trust me. I will be listening to that new Farrel Mcguire podcast in my car, in my Honda CRV 2008 EXL. You know I will be listening to that.
support video now. If you happen to have a premium subscription already, it'll definitely be a superior
Never mind. I don't have premium.
way to consume my content. I'll link it down below if you want to check it out. But without any further ado, let's get back into it. Verona, Missouri, 1972.
Is he going to explain what this has to do with the FBI, or is it just this guy went missing? Okay. All right. I guess it doesn't say it's going to explain that it has anything to do with FBI. It's just weird shit that they've documented. Okay. Makes it. All right. Lock in.
It's 8 in the morning on a musky June day. Father and husband Lynn Seal is getting ready to head to his job on the Calico Dairy Farm.
Oh, this is so creepy, bro. This reminds me of the Benadryl hat man. Dude, I don't understand people who take Benadryl. Like, you're really tripping to see the hat man. Has anyone ever had a good trip on Benadryl? No. I don't think so.
Him and his family recently moved into a mobile home on the farm's property, meaning he doesn't have to travel very far. His wife Christine and his son David are both sleeping, so he sneaks out quietly as to not wake them. An hour and a half later, a mailman drops off some letters for the family. Through the door, he can see 2-year-old David standing alone in the trailer. 15 minutes after that, Lynn would return to say good morning to his wife and son during a break at work, but he'd only find David with no sign of Christine anywhere.
What? So, he's chilling with his son and his wife, I think. Maybe I missed something. He's chilling with his son and his wife. He leaves, the wife is gone, but the son is still there. I need more evidence. I don't know.
It wouldn't take him long to search the tiny mobile home, but there was no sign of his wife. Moreover, nothing appeared to be missing. Her purse, car keys, wallet, and even all her shoes were still right where they were when Lynn had left for work just a little while earlier. The only thing that wasn't there was a nightgown Christine had been wearing when she went to bed the previous night. Before getting the police involved, Lynn would decide to look around the farm's property. With the couple's cars still in the driveway, Christine couldn't have gone very far, but he couldn't find her anywhere. He'd then call his parents. The day before, they had all gone together to celebrate Father's Day. Maybe they had some idea where she might be, but they hadn't heard anything. Out of ideas, Lynn calls the police. They come to the family's property with bloodhounds who are able to track down Christine's scent to the driveway.
Bloodhounds are so cool, bro. I just think that's so cool. Police dogs are sick, bro.
Find the family's car, right where another vehicle might park if one had pulled up to their home. That's where the scent stopped.
That's hella sus.
Police theorize that Christine likely got into a car here, considering she was
Yeah, so her trail is from the house out to the driveway, and then it stops. She definitely got into someone's car. Maybe another man. Maybe she was cheating on her husband and she decided to run away or something. I don't know.
still in her nightgown and hadn't even been wearing shoes or socks. It wouldn't be hard to assume that she entered that vehicle unwillingly.
Oh,
Despite clear evidence suggesting that
that makes sense as well. Because she didn't prepare or take any of her belongings.
foul play could be involved here, the police inexplicably didn't see it that way. Their theory was that Christine had simply ran off in a nightgown and bare feet in the middle of rural Missouri. They said they wouldn't do any more policing until 48 hours had passed. If she still hadn't returned at that point, then they would continue the investigation. Lynn and his family.
Something fishy, bro. I don't know. The police are saying we're not going to look for your missing wife because we think she's going to come back. You have no reason to think that. Why would you say that? That's suspicious to me. This police is sus.
Family would be left to organize things on their own. They'd get a search party together consisting of 500 local residents who would scour every corner of the small town of Verona, but nothing would be found. When police started looking into the case again, they did consider the angle of foul play, but they couldn't piece together a potential motive. Christine was a cosmetologist who'd been working in a nearby town. She was well liked and didn't have any enemies. They did, however, try to connect the case to a similar one in the nearby town of Nixa. In late 1969, cosmetologist Carol Blades went out to a laundromat to get her family's laundry done, but she never came home. Police went to the laundromat and found her clothes laying damp in the washing machine, and no sign of Carol. An extensive search and investigation would turn up nothing, and the case would go cold. However, almost exactly a year later in 1970, Carol's body would be found in a farmer's field. She had been murdered, but the police couldn't connect any suspect to the crime.
That's bizarre. So, like, people are just vanishing and then dying, and there's no identifiable things. So it's just is it just a thought out crime?
Meaning whoever carried out the act was still walking free around this area of Missouri at the time of Christine's disappearance. While strikingly similar, police couldn't substantiate any connection between Carol's murder and Christine's disappearance, but they wouldn't have to wait very long to get another lead to investigate. A man had been driving outside Verona, but got a flat tire in front of Lee Church, an abandoned Baptist chapel. While fixing his car, he heard an enormous bang come from inside the church.
Whoa. Oh, hell no. I'm running if I'm that dude. You pull over to an abandoned church at a cemetery because your wheel popped and you hear a gunshot inside the abandoned church and you can't leave because your car. That is dead ass the plot of a horror movie. What would you even do? Like you're dead. You're cooked, bro. You're goodbye. Goodbye.
He walked up to investigate, and upon opening the door, he allegedly saw a naked woman running out the back exit of the chapel and into the woods. The man then left and called the police, who had come to look around the church. They found several items that suggested somebody.
There's not even another person there. It's just a naked woman and she runs away. What? No, it had to have been that guy, right? Surely it was that guy. And then he was just concerned that someone else knew about it, so he reported it to the police. And he lied. It was like a self-report, is what I'm trying to get at. Surely it was that guy that was at the cemetery that kidnapped that girl, and then he's self-reporting. And he probably buried her at the cemetery or something. I don't know. This is so sus.
Been living inside the abandoned chapel for quite a while, but Christine was still nowhere to be found, and nothing concrete came from this tip.
Dude,
after this, the case.
I went to an old ass 1800s chapel, and I went to Gatlinburg in Kentucky. I think is where it. Is that Tennessee or Kentucky? I don't know, but it's the mountains. I know it's the mountains, and there was this old ass church in the mountains, and it's the ones. I think it's the Appalachian. Yeah, the Appalachian Mountains, and it's the one those are the mountains that people are always telling scary horror stories about. And I remember seeing that and just being oh my god, dude, surely someone has been killed here.
This would once again go cold. No new leads would be found. Lynn would remarry a couple years after his first wife's disappearance, which some might consider to be fishy, but I do think it's important to keep in mind that this was the 70s in the rural American South.
That's not fishy. What? That's not fishy. Remarrying? That's not fishy. Dude, he just moved on. He just moved on. You're gonna say it's fishy? No, it's not.
People tend to marry again quickly after losing a partner, and the police have already ruled Lynn out as a suspect. But there's definitely a non-zero chance of a deathbed confession happening that could clear this entire case up. The Seal family is still to this day offering a $25,000 reward for any information that could lead to this mystery being solved.
That's so creepy, dude. Deathbed confessions are so creepy. Imagine, like, dude, let me put you in a scenario here. You visit your grandpa. It's the last time you're ever gonna see him. He's literally dying in front of you, and he turns to you, literally just goes like this: "Son, you know how? Have you heard of the Zodiac Killer? That was me. The 80s and 90s were a different time for Papa." Well, I mean, what could you even do? What would you even respond with? You can't. It's not like you can do anything. You can't, like, would people even believe you if you said, like, if you posted about that somewhere or took it to a news station? They probably wouldn't even believe you.
The case remains open with the Lawrence County Sheriff's Department. If you happen to know something, please let them know. These first two cases follow the same pattern. One minute somebody is there, the next they're not. No clues are left behind, and everybody can only see why this person just vanished into thin air. This next case is like that. It even once again starts with somebody leaving their house in the morning. But this
is just a compilation of people disappearing, bro. Diane Augat.
One has a twist. A bizarre and unexpected clue would eventually emerge in this story, one that would give credence to the worst possible scenario. Hudson, Florida, 19.
What's the one story? I want to watch a recap on this one case of this little boy that disappeared in the woods, and he was wearing, like, an outfit. They knew what he was wearing, but then they found him and he was wearing entirely different clothes, and they couldn't find where the clothes came from or where his old clothes went. So they don't know how he got them, and he didn't say anything about it because he was, like, too young to talk about it. That's so eerie. I need to watch a video about that.
1998.
Chat, if you have any good videos about, like, strange cases you want me to look at and give my thoughts and outputs on, please DM me them on Instagram, on Discord, on whatever, bro. TikTok, I want to see them, bro. I want to see them.
It's a common muggy April morning on Good Friday, and Deborah Cronin is getting ready to go to a doctor's appointment. Before she leaves, she says goodbye to her sister Diane, who's been staying with her for the last couple months, as she's unfortunately been going through a pretty tough time with her mental health. Around a decade earlier, she was diagnosed as a manic depressive, now known.
So Diane, the girl that disappears, is a manic depressive. Okay. Clock that, guys. I'm clocking it.
As bipolar disorder, which would be followed by a nasty divorce. If that wasn't bad enough, Child Protective Services would then start a case against Diane, alleging that she had been mistreating her 3 children. The state accused her of Munchausen by proxy, stating that she had been seeking excessive and unnecessary medical treatment for her children. She would be.
That's a thing? You can seek unnecessary and excessive medical treatment for your children? That's considered abuse? Nah, I gotta look this up. I don't believe that. Oh, Munchausen syndrome by proxy. It's a form of child abuse. The caretaker of a child, most often a mother, either makes up fake symptoms or causes real symptoms to make it look like the child is sick. Causes. No one is sure what causes Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Sometimes the person was abused as a child or has Munchausen syndrome, where they fake illnesses for themselves. That's crazy. That's another thing I want to watch a video about, is the most random niche disorders that people can have. Like, there's one where you think that your body's glass, and so you're super protective. And apparently, like, Henry VIII had that, so he would always wear a suit of armor.
Acquitted of the charges, but just the case alone was enough for her ex-husband Frederick to win full custody of their children when the divorce was finalized in 1991. All of these unfortunate events lining up in a row dealt a massive blow to Diane, as it would to anyone. She began to spiral, turning to substances to deal with the stress of it all. That in turn would cause her mental health to worsen even further, which would lead to her being involuntarily committed to several mental health facilities 32 times over the following 7 years. Her family was of the opinion that she should be staying in these facilities longer term so she could receive deeper professional care. But it was Florida in the 90s and that likely wasn't in the cards. While Diane did have her own place, she opted instead to stay with her sister, who would be able to help take care of her during her rougher episodes. Deborah was more than willing to help, but she was disappointed to learn that Diane hadn't been taking her medication, which was causing her mental health to deteriorate even further. That fateful April morning, Deborah told her sister she was just leaving for a bit and she'd be back soon. But when she returned just a couple hours later, Diane was gone. This was alarming.
I think she definitely ran away on purpose, you know? Like, I think she just left. I think she just up and left, chat. Like, if you have really bad mental issues and you're maybe afraid to take your own life, but you don't know what to do, running away and leaving no trace is genuinely, like, that is something that someone would do.
Diane didn't drive, and she had been previously known
What is this picture, bro? Come on, seriously.
to hitchhike to get around. Deborah would anxiously wait at home for her sister to return, but when tomorrow arrived without any sign of her, she finally opted to call the police. An investigation would immediately begin. The police would find a witness who reportedly saw Diane walking along a highway on the outskirts of Hudson the afternoon she vanished.
That's what I'm saying. She's probably just left. Like, she's probably just like walking somewhere, bro. She's probably just like gone. Like, she probably is just trying to find a new life somewhere or do something or just get away from everything, you know?
They'd also managed to track down a bartender who reported that he had been serving Diane alcohol that day, but had to cut her off as she began walking around in circles. This was the last time she'd ever be seen, but not the last time she'd ever be heard. 3 days later, Diane's mother would return home to find a new voicemail waiting for her on her answering machine. Nothing could prepare her for what she'd hear on the other end.
I'm scared. I'm actually scared, chat. I'm actually nervous. Oh, gosh. What is she going to say, chat? What is she going to say? What is she going to say? Lock in. Prepare yourself.
After hitting play on the tape, a sound of scuffling can be heard, followed by a woman's voice, one that belongs to her daughter.
Whoa. So I think she probably ran away and then was kidnapped. That's my guess.
More scuffling can be heard, followed once again by Diane's voice. After this, the call ends.
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell nah. Dog, what? No, she definitely ran away and then got kidnapped. She was probably like, she's depressed, addicted to substances. She probably left home because she's depressed, went to that bar, got super, super crazy drunk, probably did some substances, maybe tried to go home with a guy. He kidnapped her, probably assaulted her, tried to kill her. That's my guess. That's a good guess, I think.
Diane's mother happened to have caller ID, and the name for this phone number was Starlight. She'd call the number back, but nobody would pick up. She'd report this incident to the police, who would never publicly reveal whether or not this voicemail actually led anywhere. Regardless, it added a new and terrifying lens to this case. Diane didn't simply go missing. Something must have happened to her.
Yeah.
Later that same day, another awful clue would be found that would only support the idea that foul play was involved here. A woman had been walking down US 19, the same highway Diane had been sighted on 3 days prior. She noticed what she described as a fake finger sitting in the bushes. She'd tell her boyfriend about this, who'd return to the spot and manage to track down the prop. Except it wasn't a prop. It was a real severed human finger.
Oh.
One that the police would verify once belonged to Diane. In just one day, this missing persons
This is disgusting. Yeah, I think I'm definitely right. I'm for sure.
investigation would turn into a kidnapping or a potential homicide case. The police would act with a newfound sense of urgency, deploying a helicopter to scan the area for any signs of Diane, but none would be found. Nothing new would be uncovered until 4 days later, when a worker at a nearby convenience store noticed something odd sitting in the shop's outdoor freezer.
Oh, it's a body. Oh no. No.
It was a bag containing a neatly folded set of clothes.
Oh.
The manager of the store knew Diane, as she was a frequent customer, so he called Deborah to inform her of the discovery, who would make her way down to the shop and would end up verifying that these clothes did in fact belong to Diane. And on top of that, it was a set of clothing that she had personally bought for her. This would be the last advancement made in this case, and it would disappear from the public eye without any sort of resolution. At least for a little while. 2 years later, in the year 2000, Terry, the girlfriend of Diane and Deborah's brother, walked into a Circle K convenience store to buy a soda and some cigarettes. She was familiar with the shop, as it was where Deborah had currently been employed. As she was waiting for the clerk to help her, she noticed something odd behind the lottery counter. It was a clear Ziploc bag with a name written on it.
Oh, hell no. Okay, wait, so the girl works here? I'm confused.
Deborah had currently been Terry, the girlfriend of Diane and Deborah's brother.
Carrie, the girlfriend of Diane and Deborah's brother. So their sister-in-law.
Walked into a Circle K convenience store to buy a soda and some cigarettes. She was familiar with the shop, as it was where Deborah had currently been employed.
So Deborah worked there.
She was waiting for the clerk to help her. She noticed something odd behind the lottery counter. It was a clear Ziploc bag with a name written on it.
So this guy probably did something to her.
Diane. Inside the bag was an assortment of toiletries and makeup. While her family couldn't verify whether the items actually belonged to Diane or not, the police were able to verify that the toothpaste in the bag did come from a mental health facility that Diane had been released from only 2 weeks before she had vanished. The police would also review the store's CCTV footage to see if they could find evidence of who may have planted the bag there.
And you know that shit is 360p, 0 frames, like you know that shit is ass too. You know that's a very bad camera as well.
But they couldn't find anything on the tapes. This was the last major development in the case of Diane Augat. Every clue here is disconnected from one another, and it's no wonder why the police haven't been able to piece together a solid theory to explain her disappearance. While authorities have never publicly released the identity of the Starlight who left the disturbing voicemail, internet sleuths have theorized that it could have originated from the Starlight Lounge, a strip club which used to exist 20 miles south of where Diane had disappeared, although it's worth mentioning that this is pure speculation. There's been 2 theories floating around as to what may have happened to Diane. The first was that she was kidnapped and held against her will. She may have managed to get access to a phone long enough to call her mother, but ended up getting caught in the middle of the call, which led to that disturbing voicemail. But if that was the case, then why would her finger be found on the side of the road? If someone had been holding her hostage, why would they cut off her finger only to then throw it in a ditch? That detail can be explained.
I think she was kidnapped for like some sort of sex trafficking thing at the Starlight place, and her finger somehow got out of the window and on the side of the road while she was on the way to that place in a car or something or whatever. I don't know. I'm unsure, but that's my guess.
Explained by the second theory, which is that Diane fell victim to a drug-related dispute.
Maybe.
She had been known to use several substances, and one method dealers in this part of Florida used to punish customers who didn't pay back their debts was finger chopping.
Okay.
It's possible what started off as a punishment for defaulting on a debt may have escalated into a homicide. In any event, we unfortunately have no idea
It actually makes a lot of sense, but why did she leave her house in the first place?
what happened to Diane Augat. Her family is still offering a $3,000 reward for any information that may lead to her case being resolved.
Wow.
So it goes without saying, if you happen to know something, then please get in contact with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office.
Wow.
When looking at these more mysterious missing persons cases, one thing you'll quickly notice is a lack of information. When somebody just vanishes inexplicably without leaving behind any clues, their case files often end up being pretty short. So for the last bit of this video, I want to talk about some shorter cases that don't really warrant their own section, but are still worth talking about. Las Vegas, Nevada, 1999. 47-year-old Robert Turner is taking a trip to Death Valley to meet up with some friends.
I think I've already seen this one.
He visits his brother
To
drop off some tools, telling him he'll be back later on to pick them up for a job he had landed in San Francisco. He would never return to pick up those tools, and he would never be seen again. One notable detail here is that Robert didn't own a car, meaning he was either hitching a
Okay, I don't want to be like mean or anything, but we really couldn't find a better picture for this guy for this video. Seriously, this is the picture we're using. Like, we couldn't have found something better, bro. Are we serious? That's terrible, bro. This is disrespectful to this guy, bro.
ride with a friend, or was simply hitchhiking. It was never clarified who Robert was meeting in Death Valley, and to further complicate things, his brother didn't actually report him missing until he had already been gone for 9 months, making it pretty hard for the police to figure out what may have happened. No leads or further information.
I mean, are you fucking stupid? The brother reported him missing after 9 months? You're stupid, bro.
Have ever come about. Colfax, California, 1993. A landlord is stopping in to check on his elderly tenant, 81-year-old Elmer Booth. He hasn't paid his rent for the last couple months, and he's not picking up the phone either. He knocks on the door, but nobody comes to open it. He decides to just go in anyways, and when he does, there's no sign of Elmer anywhere. He calls the police and a missing persons case is filed, but the police were unable to figure out any idea as to where Elmer may have gone, which led to his case very quickly going cold. Not much was known about Elmer, who had no living family at the time.
Like, this is what I'm saying. You can't find you really can't find a more flattering picture of this dude. This is the picture we're using. Looks like it was taken on a freaking microwave. This looks like the reflection and like the little dotted screen on the little dotted glass on the microwave. Genuinely.
Go on daily walks around the small mining town of
Yo, if I ever go missing, take that picture off my Instagram of me hitting a mean money spread to skipping class by Netspend and use that as the picture that we're trying to look for me for. Don't use some bullshit, bro. Like, what is this?
It's possible that he might have vanished on one of these outings. His case remains unresolved to this day. Cookeville, Tennessee, 2004. 22-year-old basketball star John Thrasher drops out of college, much to his parents' dismay. He's recently fallen in with a bad crowd, picking up a drug habit along the way.
Yeah.
The accounts of what happened vary. Some agencies say that John was picked up by an unknown person from his parents' house on August 15th. Some say that he was last seen at the Putnam County Fair on August 14th. Others say he left home carrying a backpack on the 13th. In any event, John would completely vanish in the middle of August, and his parents would formally report him missing on the 16th. Investigators wouldn't find any concrete evidence to explain where he may have gone, and as the years rolled by, the search would slowly shift from looking for a live person to looking for a body, with the police searching nearby sinkholes and lakes. Nothing would be found though, and the case would go cold for the next 6 years. However, in 2010, a jailhouse tip would come through that would spark new life in the investigation. A female inmate said that she knew what happened to John, stating that he had gotten into a fight at a party and was killed in the confrontation, with the perpetrators dumping his body into a nearby sinkhole. This tip would not only fail to pan out, but it would lead to a second tragedy occurring. The police would head to the sinkhole to start preparations for rescue crews to descend into it. However, while standing around the massive hole, the ground would give way, causing Deputy Chad Pritchard to slip and fall into the 160-foot crater. He would instantly die on impact. Rescue crews would make their way to the bottom to recover Chad's body and to search for any evidence of John. There was none, and the police would ultimately discredit the tip they had received. This was the last development in the case of John Thrasher, which remains open and unresolved to this day. Endicott, New York, 2016. This one might have the least information.
Like, what is this picture, bro? This looks like that one picture of Vladimir Putin. Like, I'm sorry to make this comparison, right? But you really couldn't have found a better picture for this guy. Actually, this is his death. This is what his death is being made out to be right now.
Talked about today. 73-year-old Peter Romano, who had previously lived in Pennsylvania, ended up vanishing one day in May 2016. The FBI would release a VICAP alert with his photo, but other than that, there's basically no information about this guy and how he went missing. Even the picture here is just a file photo from the DMV, one that doesn't even have a date attached to it. All we can surmise is that one day, this man simply vanished without a trace, just like everybody we've talked about today.
Yeah.
It's scary to think that there are so many people in this world who just inexplicably disappear.
Alright. W video chat. That is absolutely insane, bro.
As if they glitched.
This video is crazy. So like what? I'm trying to wrap my mind around half these things.
Oh, yeah.